All right, hello everybody. Oops, wrong button. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, well, hi there. Yes, it's your good friend Plausible here, and I'm back in action with the next batch of movies coming out this weekend. What is my opinion on things like The Muppets Most Wanted? Well, here's the thing. One thing I know about movies that you gotta play it safe, and this is nothing is more safer than The Muppets. Let's face it. It's got a good story. You know, in this case, there's Kermit the Frog has a evil twin. It's someone who looks just like him, except for one minor difference. And now him and a host of bad guys, the bad guy, I mean not Kermit, are framed Kermit the Frog. They put him in jail, and they want to pull off the heist of the century. So it's up to the Muppets to save Kermit so that they can protect his reputation and stop the heist. The trailers really work for this movie. I gotta admit, I thought they were hilarious. I really laughed. Tina Fey is hilarious. Richie Gervais, who doesn't impress me at all, impressed me here. So kudos to that. Of course, this movie gets to see it. It's the Muppets. As a matter of fact, we're doing a whole Muppets segment right now on Plausible Movie Reviews, all about the Muppets. So keep in touch, and we'll show you more about the Muppets as time goes off. Next up, Divergent. And in this case, I feel like I'm the divergent because I don't know. This movie. Well, let's go back here real quick and talk about what is the next batch? What is this preview before the review really all about? It's not a preview, actually. It's a review. It's a review of the trailers. Did they really sell me on this movie? That's what they're supposed to do. You know, impress me, wow me, tell me about the story so I know what's going on to the point where I'm saying, gosh, I want to learn more about that. Divergent, fail, epic fail on that part. Now, the one thing Divergent has going for it is its fan base. Everyone loves Divergent, right? And I understand the book, it's really good. But remember, how many times have we heard of a book being really good and the movie complete trash? Enough said on that subject. When it comes to Divergent, though, there's the word I'm really looking for, and this may sound like a weird word, is texture. There's a strange texture to this show. When I see the trailers, there's just something undeniably boring about it, something familiar. What's interesting is that you have this movie where, of course, whenever you try to sell a movie, what do you hear people say? Oh, this movie is the next Muppets with Star Wars. Oh, this movie is the next Old West movie with aliens. Or how about this one? Divergent. It's the new Hunger Games. I would imagine that or worse, the new Twilight. Okay. I would imagine the people who made this movie are pretty pissed off that they're being compared to those other movies because they want to be their own show. The problem is that you're involved in something that's bigger than you are. You're in a class, the YA class, the young adults class. This is not a good place to be right now. Yes, people love those movies. Hunger Games, Twilight. I am not one of them. So you got to go a little bit further to impress me. Now, that doesn't mean I don't watch these movies. I watched Ender's Game. I didn't like it. That's just me. That said, Divergent. What's the deal? She's a divergent. So what? Who cares? Why does the society have to destroy her? Because she's a divergent. And why is Maggie Q like visibly upset? Why is she even helping her? You know? And what's wrong with this society? It's like this utopia society where everyone is broke up into 5 different places. And oh my god, I know it was supposed to look colorful. It really looked cheap and lousy. And so you're supposed to decide which class you belong in. And once you're in that class, you're going to be stuck in that class for the rest of your life. It's what makes you happy. It's what makes the society work. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, been there, done that. If you want to see a good movie like this, watch Psycho-Pass. It's an anime TV show, but it was best dystopia ever. But apparently there's a problem with the society, so it's up to the sexy teenagers to bond together to fight it out and to save us from, I don't know, being classified again, I guess? I'm not sure. So much irked me about this movie. Why is being a divergent bad? What is a divergent as compared? I mean, she can cheat at these tests. That's all I get out of it, you know? They can't decide which class she fits in, so just stick her somewhere, you know? the one thing that, of course, makes me more angry is this cliche of the person who has to save us is clueless. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how to stop anything, but they're going to become a warrior and protect us. Yeah, I'm not impressed. Divergent, however, has another problem. And this is a problem that trumps everything else I've said. And that is not a problem with Divergent. Because from what I understand, Divergent's pretty cool. The book, awesome, from what I understand. It's the third book, the last book. Yes, Insurgent comes out. Haven't heard much about Insurgent. No big deal. But then there's that last book. And when people came out, a lot of people were angry. So I'm wondering to myself, do I really want to get into a movie series where I know the first movie is going to be good? Sure, let the first Divergent be good. But what about the third one? It's going to end horribly. That's what people say. A lot of fans were upset. You know, the writer was upset that her fans didn't, go with her flow. But, she tried to go against the grain and everything. I'm wondering, though, one other thing. This is just a movie. It's an interpretation of the book. What if they change the ending of the book to satisfy the audience? It's kind of like when J.K. Rowling, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, to be honest. I can't even pronounce niche, apparently. But there's this one person, J.K. recently came out and said, you know what, I'm really upset now that Hermione wound up with Ron. It makes sense that Hermione would wind up with Harry. And I'm thinking, well, reboot, milk that cash cow and get it going. So Divergent, a lot of issues. So it should be no surprise I give this movie a pass. I believe it should be skipped. If for no other reason, ultimately, it just would be interesting to see one of these movies drop. I know it's a bad thing to say, and this is no disrespect to all those who worked so hard on this movie and everything. I blame the trailers. The trailers just didn't sell me. They made me more annoyed with this movie because they didn't give me enough background. They're trying to give me a background on her, on what she was doing. They should have given me a background on the society and what a Divergent means and why is it a problem. I know it's all in the book. Maybe I'll read it one day. Probably not. The third one's bad, from what I understand. And so we'll see. But that's it for me for right now, guys. We will see you at the theaters.